Envision your loved ones, your dear departed. This is what it's all about tonight. Envision them. Close your eyes a little bit. Envision them, whoever it is, if it's a parent, if it's a grandparent, if it's a sibling, if it's a child, whoever it may be, an aunt, an uncle, a great-grandparent. Envision them. Oy ma Yiddish Mame, es ist nicht besser als der Welt. A Yiddish Mame, oy wie bitte, wenn sie fällt, wie schön und lechtig ist ein Haus, oy wenn die Mame ist da, wie treuerig finster wird, wenn Gott nimmt auf Olam Abo, in Wasser und Feuer, wo sie gelaufen fahr ihr Kind, nicht halten ihr Teier, das ist gewähnt die größte Sinn. Oi, wie glücklich und reich ist der Mensch, was hat Ascha schöne Matone geschenkt von Gott, wie ein alter jüdische Mame, hey Mame, Mame mein, hey my jüdische Mame, I need her more than ever now. Ay, my Yiddish Mame, I like to kiss her wrinkled brow. I long to hold her hand once more, as in days gone by, and ask her to forgive me for the things I did that made her cry. How few were her pleasures. She never cared for fashion styles, her jewels and her treasures. She found them in her children's smiles. Oh, I know that I owe what I am today to that dear little lady, oh, who's gone away. To that wonderful Yiddish Mame, Hi Mame, Mame of mine. He lived with us in my parents' home. He used to laugh, he put me on his knees. He spoke about his life in Poland. He spoke, but with a bitter memory. He spoke about the soldiers who would beat him. They laughed at him, they tore his long black coat. And he spoke about a synagogue that they burned down, and the crying that was heard beneath the smoke. But Zadie made us laugh, and Zadie made us sing, and Zadie made a Kiddush Friday night. Oh, Zadie, oh my Zadie, how I loved him so. And Zadie used to teach me wrong from right. His eyes lit up when he would teach me Torah. He taught me every line so carefully. He spoke about our slavery in Egypt, and how God took us out to make us free. But winter went by and summer came along. I went to camp to run and play, and when I came back home, they said Zadie's gone, and all his books were stored and packed away. I don't know how and why it came to be. It happened slowly over many years. We just stopped being Jewish like Zadie was. and no one cared enough to shed a tear. But many winters went by, and many summers came along, and now my children sit in front of me. And who will be the Zadie of my children? Who will be the Zadie of my, not me? Oh, who will be the Zadies of our children? Who will be the Zadies if not we? But us, the Jewish people, we have Memorial Day 4 times a year. Last days of Sukkot, last days of Pesach, Shavuot and Yom Kippur. But let's think for a minute, what is Yizkor? What's the purpose of Yizkor? Is it just nostalgia? Is it just a remembrance? Or does it represent something much deeper and powerful? This week, on Friday, 2 days, Shavuot, the first day, we will read in the Torah the portion about the revelation of Sinai. What exactly happened at Sinai? We know the Torah was given, but it describes in detail the entire atmosphere and what went on, and the holiness and the angels. And our sages tell us that at the peak of the revelation, the people were able to see what was heard and to hear what was seen. Sounds a little weird. But they reached such a high level of spirituality at the Sinai experience. They experienced that concept, that phenomenon, that they were able to see what was heard and hear what is usually seen. So number one, my question is, my friends, is that really possible? Is that possible? And number two, what's the point? What is the point? So let's delve into a little bit of the difference. Let's think about the difference between seeing and hearing. When a person sees, they know for a fact it happened. You can't argue with a person that it didn't happen. He saw it. He saw it with his own eyes. When you hear something, you can perceive something. You might be able to understand something, but you didn't actually see it. It's not complete reality to you. Us physical beings, when we see something, that's reality. We look in front of our noses, that's reality. Whatever we see, whatever we can touch, it's tangible, that's reality. On the other hand, the soul, the energy behind creation, the life force of reality, the existence of godliness, we can't see it. We can hear it. We can discuss it. We might even be able to perceive a little bit. But to see it, we can't. At Sinai, they were able to perceive and to see the divine. And it became tangible. The divine spirituality became reality, as physicality is reality. We had loved ones. We were able to touch them. We were able to kiss them. We were able to hug them, to touch them, to eat with them, to get upset at them, to frustrate them. But it was real. They were as real as life. They were in front of us. They were with us. And then one day, our loved ones, our dear departed, were just like that, snatched away from us. Taken away And we stood there when they lowered our loved ones into the grave for the last time, knowing one thing, it's final. This is it, when we won't see them again. And now when we'll want to speak about them, it will only be a memory. We will only hear about them. Our children will only hear about their grandparents and about their relatives, their deceased relatives. It will only be hearing. But yet comes a few times a year when that memory becomes reality. We close our eyes for a few moments and say, Yizkor, please remember. But we're really talking to ourselves. Let us please remember. Let us feel it. Just that few moments. Close your eyes and envision our parents, our grandparents, our dear departed, our deceased children, great-grandparents, siblings. For those few minutes, even though we can't touch them anymore, but they become real. They're with us. As the Zohar says, when we say Yizkor, the Zohar, the foundation of Kabbalah, of Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah says, when we say Yizkor, the souls come down and are with us. They hover over us. I'd like to share with you a story. Happened many years ago in Des Moines, Iowa. There was a music teacher. She taught piano in an elementary school. And as she was speaking, she told over the fact that she never, ever had this child prodigy, this star student. They were all good. Some of them very musically challenged, but they were good. But she never was able to have that prodigy, that student. And one day, she acquired an 11-year-old boy, a student. Mother dropped him off. He was very physically challenged. He was a mess. Had a single mom. She dropped him off, picked him up. But he just didn't have it. And the teacher says to him, his name was Rabbi, says, Rabbi, listen to me. Most of my students started much younger. You're already 11. He says, please let me play. Please teach me how to play. I promise my mother she'll be able to hear me. Please, I'm begging you, please. The teacher had no choice, and she's trying, and every week, at the end of the week, the last lesson, Rabbi would say, one day, my mom will hear me play. One day, she's really going to hear me play. Well, teacher comes to school, and Rabbi's not there anymore. Rabbi is missing. And he's not there. Missed. And she was going to call him and find out if everything's okay. But she said, you know what? It's better like this. As a matter of fact, she was happy he wasn't there. She didn't have that pressure. He didn't have it. And as she says, he was just bad advertisement for her. Bad PR. Towards the end of the year, they were preparing for their recital. And she sent out emails. And by mistake, she sent Rabbi's mom an email. And Rabbi came to her with an email and said, my dear teacher, I want to join the recital. And the teacher said, Rabbi, I'd love to have you join, but you missed most of the year. As for the Current students, you've been gone, but please, my dear teacher, please, my mother has been sick. And she's a single mother. I had to stay home and help her. And the teacher says, I don't know what got into me. I said, yes. Comes the day of the recital, my friends, and the gymnasium is packed with parents, grandparents, relatives. And Rabbi, she put Rabbi all the way at the end. Put him all the way at the end. This way, any damage that will be done at the end. And everything went smooth and it was beautiful. And comes the last one, Rabbi. And he comes to the piano bench. And he pulls out the piano bench. And he says in a mic, each child had to say what they're going to play. He decided he's going to play a piece of Mozart. The concerto. She was shocked. How's he going to do this? And all of a sudden, my friends, he starts playing. And his fingers are light on the keyboard. And he's playing with the piano keys. And she never heard this before. She couldn't believe what's going on. She couldn't believe it. What? After 6.5 minutes, he was over. He finished. And my friends, the way he finished was with such an applause and a standing ovation. They wouldn't stop clapping. And finally they stopped and the teacher was in tears and she ran up to the stage and said, Rabbi, what happened? What got into you? How did you do it? And this is on the mic. And he says on the mic as follows. He says, do you remember I told you the reason I stopped coming was because my mother was sick? She had cancer. And she died this morning. But I want you to know my mother was always deaf. Tonight was the first time that she was able to hear me. Tonight is the first time, so I had to give it all I had. I had to put everything into it. Remember what I told you, that one day my mother's going to end up hearing me? Well, she heard me loud and clear. My dear friends, I don't have to tell you that in the entire gymnasium there was not one dry eye. Everyone was crying. Especially after the speech, when social services came and led him away and took him to a foster home. I want to explain to you why it touches me. This Rabbi, he was drafted, he fought in Iraq. He went Desert Storm and he came out with flying colors. He felt like $1 million. He felt like he accomplished something after he finished his years in the army. And then one day in a building, he was playing piano. And all of a sudden in that building, a bomb went off. This was the building in Oklahoma, the Oklahoma City bombing, that killed over 160 people. And Rabbi was one of the victims. And Rabbi joined his mother, who couldn't hear him, but now he was playing piano for her in heaven. What got me about this Rabbi? This Rabbi saw things that could normally be heard and heard things that could normally be seen. And knew one thing, that one day, even though my mother can't hear me, and even though then she's going to be in heaven, I won't see her, but I know she's going to be listening. and I will see her listening to me and shepping that nachas, as we say in Yiddish. My friends, this is what Yizkor is all about. Yizkor is about remembering and taking that memory and making it part of us, part of our lives, part of who we are. Not just a memory from the past, but that memory, those values, that passion of our dear departed, the characteristics, the way they acted, take them, make it alive, so they can still live inside of us, live in our hearts, so we can be what they call the legacy that they left. I'd like to conclude the sermon with one more story. There's a rabbi in New York, one of my colleagues, many, many years ago. He went to visit Jewish patients in a hospital. He heard there was a Holocaust survivor in one of the hospitals that was very sick. He went up to the room and he saw that this gentleman must have been really very sick. Why? Because the whole family was standing around their bed. And he was giving his last will and testament, his last instructions to them. And he comes over, the rabbi comes over, and he's greeted by this person, and he sees him, and he says, "My dear rabbi, let me tell you my story. Back during the war and the Holocaust, I knew the day's going to come, my parents are going to be taken away, and I'll never see them again. My parents knew the same thing. One night, my mother comes over to me, grabs my hand and says, 'Srolik, very soon, we will not see each other anymore. Srolik, we know it's going to happen very soon. But I want you to know one thing. I don't know if I'm going to survive, but I want you to do me a favor. If you survive, remember one thing. This life is like a play. It's a play. We're all on stage. And I want you, if you survive, I want you to act to your greatest potential. Till your curtains go down. I want you to act your part. Because you and everyone else on that stage of life has a potential sent down here for a mission. And it's not a mission impossible. It's a mission to accomplish that only you and me and everyone else, only we can accomplish, no one else. And be that best actor on the stage of life. Make it real. Make the act real. Be real with yourself. Be real with the audience. Be real with everyone around you. Be yourself. Not too long afterwards, 2 days afterwards, this gentleman passed away. And the rabbi went to pay a shiva call with the children. And all he heard, he was there twice, and all he heard both times was this story over and over and over again. That we are all actors on the stage of life. We all have our parts. Do we act our parts? Or do we always want to act someone else's part? And be that other person and think he has it better? and want to be like the Joneses. And when it comes to a certain point, we kick ourselves and say, why couldn't we be ourselves? Why couldn't we be what our parents and our grandparents wanted us to be? Why did we always look at what we don't have? Why aren't we looking? Why didn't we look at what we do have? And how lucky we are with that. So my dear friends, fellow Yidden, Yizkor is going to come. Let's remember all those souls who went, and deep inside they said one thing. Yaacov, Rachel, and everyone else to their children, whether they said it or not, but it was always in their minds that we are actors on this stage. Let's remember them. Let's envision them. Let's keep them alive in our hearts and our minds, in our children's lives. Let their legacy live on. Let them not be wiped away, dust in the wind. If we keep on going, they'll look down at us and they'll shed that nachas, which I'm sure all our parents and our grandparents and everyone else is shedding from us. And may our dear departed go to the main producer of this show called Life of the Stage, and go to the producer himself, whether it's through an email or whether it's through a phone call, or let them go knock on his door themselves and say, Rabbi Shalom, enough of the corona, enough of the people dying, enough of the sicknesses. And may all those who need a speedy recovery have that speedy recovery, not only from the corona, from all the other sicknesses. And may our loved ones, our dear departed, be a good advocate, what we call in Yiddish a melitz yesher, a good advocate for all of us, our families, and our entire nation of Israel. I will now make a kel mole, a memorial prayer. El mole rachamim shoichein b'meroimim hamitzei minuchol nachayino ale kanfei hashechiyino b'malois kedei shematahirim kezayar harakia mazehirim es nishmois mishpachtenu v'sheish hamilyon hayodim sheholchu lo'olamam mavosh plei neder et hinsto kol biaras koras nishmoiseyem beganei Eden tehei menuchosom Lochein balarachamim Yastirem b'sei ser kinafav Li'ayilomim V'yitzror b'tzor achayim es nishmaisayim. Adonai hu nachalosom. V'yanuchu v'shalayim al mishkevaisayim. V'noimar Amen. Have a Chag Sameach, good Yontif, and as they say, may the good news be yours. Good Yontif, everyone. Good Yontif, good Yontif.